Good morning, welcome to Planet Mojo. It's that time again. We're going to start some plugs for the prairie grass restoration project. If you watched yesterday, I got this all set up, cleaned up a little bit. I didn't finish. But I got the heat mats out and they're plugged in and they've flattened out. They get really stiff and wrinkly over the winter, and as soon as you plug them in and they warm up, they flatten out real nice. So got that all ready to go. They're both warm. Each one of these holds 4 flats. The only flats I'm going to use this year are 38s. And I believe these are 2.5 by, I wish I knew the size of these. They're maybe 2 by 2.5. I think that might be it. But regardless, this is the only one I'm using. I don't really have the time to do that many plugs this year. I probably did 1,000 last year. I did 600 in one day, I know that. I made a video of it. I'll link to that above. So I'm going to start 8 flats on the heat here, and I'm going to start probably 4 flats over here off the heat. And the reason for that is that I've been doing some research on this Prairie Dropseed, and from what I've been reading, this requires scarification and cold stratification, cold moist stratification. Roundstone dry stratifies their seed, but they do not cold stratify their seed. And from what I've been reading, this requires it. The vast majority of prairie grasses, like this Bluestem here, are warm season grasses. This is a warm season grass as well, and most warm season grasses do not require cold stratifying. But apparently this stuff does, which is probably why so many people have problems growing this. I've been reading around on the internet, and a lot of people are saying they've tried it and they couldn't get it to grow and this and that. So what I've read is it requires about a month of cold stratifying, which means keeping it moist and refrigerated for about a month. And it also, because the seed is really hard, it needs scarification. And with a seed this small, the only way to do that really reliably is to use like a coarse sand, like that playground sand right there. You mix the two together and then rub back and forth between your hands. And what that does is it takes off the hard outer shell and allows moisture to get at the seed and germinate it. You can damage some of the seeds that way, but if you don't do it, you're going to have a really poor germination rate, and the seeds are worthless anyways. Last year, I went right out of the bag with these and planted them in my flats, and only 3 of them came up, or something like that. It's on the videos. I think I got 3, possibly 4, planted right along the edge in the front of the garden out there, and I don't think any of them made it. So I really need a better success rate than that this year. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to scarify the whole bag. I'm going to mix some sand in with it, rub it, get it all broken up a bit. Then I'm going to fill 4 flats of that and put it over here. And with whatever seed I have left, I'm just going to put it in the fridge, and possibly in a month or so, I'm going to go stick this, whatever's left, I'm going to put it here and there all throughout the prairies. Just rake up a little spot and drop some seed in with whatever's left. This is pretty expensive seed. This is $15 for an ounce, and this little Bluestem is about $15 a pound. This is 2 pounds of Bluestem and 1 ounce of Prairie Dropseed. So, with all that being said, oh, one more thing. I have these burgundy hollyhocks. I'm not 100%. These were given to us by a friend. Maybe, yeah, I'll probably start a flat of these. I really like hollyhocks, and I guess I can spread them around here and there. I do believe that's a native to Wisconsin. Not sure about the colors. I think all of the colors are kind of bred into them. This right here is purple love grass, which comes from the grass I had growing along the ditch by the road here last summer. All of this came from that ditch. This is about 1.5 ounces, maybe. Don't know for sure. It's possible it's 2 ounces. If I remember correctly, and I'll put it up on screen how much this seed was, but I thought one of them I bought by the 100 seeds. But that might have been wavy hairgrass. Yeah, I think it was wavy hairgrass that was super expensive like that. But this was expensive too, the purple love grass. I'm not sure how much though. I'll put it up on screen just to show how much I saved by picking my own. I'm also going to pick some little bluestem, some big bluestem, and some Indian grass seed from the front prairie garden there. And I'm just going to toss that in the rest of the prairie restoration back here. Okay, time to get started. Let's add some sand to this and scarify it, or as other people say, scarify. Oh, this is already damp, and that's a good thing in this situation. So I'm just going to add a little more, and I think that'll do it. Some seeds, much larger seeds, you rub between 2 pieces of sandpaper. An example of that is Morning Glory. But some of the seeds I did last year were like that. Can't remember which ones they were right off the bat. And again, I don't know if I mentioned it or not, but the scarifying or scarifying just mimics like the seed washing down through gravel or something like that, or passing through a bird's gullet. Just mimics nature. And if they say that a plant does not reproduce or does not spread from seed readily, which they say about this, then you can rest assured that it needs to have some kind of a treatment, a scarifying treatment or a scarifying treatment, because in nature something is picking up that seed and it's passing right through a rodent or a bird, or it's washing down through a gully or something and sprouting elsewhere. Otherwise the seeds would just drop and grow right there. Oh, kitty. I don't want to overdo this, but I don't want to underdo it either. I guess some of these will be well scarified and some will be a bit less. One of the people I read, it was in the comment section somewhere, he said that he starts with 25 seeds per plug, and then thins out to 3 or 4. And without 3 or 4, you may get too much die off and not have a viable plug. And if you leave too many in there, they're just going to crowd each other out. Okay, I think, nope, get out of there, cat. Cat's going to take a dump in my sand. That's never good. All right, these are ready to plant. Okay, for my growing medium, I'm just going to use, this is pure peat moss, and I'm going to mix in a little bit of horticultural perlite, and then I'm going to moisten it with water that has a surfactant in it. You can use Dawn dishwashing liquid if that's all you have, but I do sprayings and stuff, so I have a regular surfactant, and I'll use that. This is actually pretty nice and moist. Okay, I found a nice big tub for mixing this stuff. I just have some water with about a tablespoon of surfactant in it. And like I said, you can just use Dawn for dishes or whatever other brand dishwashing soap that you use. Surfactant is just something that basically makes water wetter. It makes it more slippery, able to get into tighter spaces. And if you have a surfactant mixed in, this is what the premium planting mix. All it is peat moss that's pre-moistened with water with a surfactant in it, and a couple nutrients, I guess, which is probably 20 cents worth of materials. Now, once you wet this down with a surfactant, either dishwashing soap or commercial, your soil mix will accept water every time. It's not gonna, your peat moss is not gonna try to float or shed the water. All right. So I think I have enough to start with. Let's get some flats filled. I think I'll just do that on the ground here. Okay, this is my last one. Not a lot to see with filling the flats. You just dump stuff on top, swish it around a bit, let it fall in the holes, and then tamp down the holes a little bit, because sometimes they will have just about nothing in them, and they will settle as you water it a couple times. You'll end up having a half of a cell with soil in it. But I don't want them overfilled, because you can't have them filled directly to the top, or your water's just going to run off. But that's how you start, and then you just press them down a little bit as you put the seeds in. So that should be good. I have a dozen of them, but I ran out of the 38 cell flats, and I use this. I think it's, what is this? It is 72, and these are the deep ones. I don't like using them because they're so small, but I don't know. I've seen some greenhouses have tomatoes in these that are 8-10 inches tall with just a solid plug of roots. So I don't know. We'll see how it works. I'll use these for little Bluestem for the cheap seeds, and I'll use the 32s for the other stuff. Well, I'll use 3 of these and 1 of these for Bluestem. Okay, now get this out of the way and can start planting. All right, as you can see, that's kind of a mess in there. This is the Prairie Dropseed. So I'm going to try putting some on here. And I can kind of see. And then I'm just doing a pinch. There is no way on earth I can measure this correctly, so how many seeds are going in each hole. But I can see that, you know, it's at least 5, 6, but there might be 10 going in each hole for all I know. The 25 that I read that person was putting in each hole, I don't know, that sounds a little excessive, but we'll see. I'm gonna guess that, like I said, there's 5, 6 going into each hole. Oh, there's more than that. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. There's about 15 in that one, so maybe he was correct in his assessment. So I'm putting these in nice firm contact with the ground and covering them very lightly with about an 1/8 inch of the potting medium, or not potting, starting medium. Whether this is the best way to do it or not, I am not sure, but I think it is. Okay, you can see that when I added water, it didn't float up and all that. That's because of the surfactant. But you can see that some of these seeds aren't buried as good as they should be. But the next step that I do, and I actually just started doing it last year, but after I get these good and watered like this, I press them down nice and firm, and then I go in and cover the top with about just kind of a dusting, maybe 1/8 of an inch of vermiculite. And what that does is makes sure that the seeds are covered, but it also retains moisture. So right at the seed level, it should have moisture all the time, unless I'm really negligent. So I'm going to press these down just a little bit more, and then I'm going to dust the top with vermiculite, and then I spray that with water, and then I'm going to cover these. And these, of course, are going to remain cold. They're not on mats. And I'm going to turn these mats off tonight. I'm not going to be able to plant the rest of this today. It's just taken way too long. So I'm going to finish up this, press these down, put the vermiculite over them, spray them, put covers on them, and that'll be it for today. And then I'll get back at this stuff tomorrow. What I have left is the little bluestem and the purple lovegrass. And I do want to check up on that purple lovegrass to make sure I got the planting depth correct. I don't think it needs to remain on the surface. There's a few that do. I don't believe that's one of them, but I believe it has a planting depth of 1/8 of an inch. And if that's the case, then I dust the seeds onto the top. I use a seed planter like this, a seed, I guess it's called a seed planter, or a seeder. Fill that up, and then you just tap it as you go across. Then I just press them down a little bit and cover it with vermiculite. I don't try to churn any of the seeds in like I'm doing here. Some of these I'm pushing down into the soil, but for some odd reason, some of them just do not want to go under the soil. But that's okay. They're all going to be at slightly different depths, but I don't want to go any more than 1/4 of an inch. And that shouldn't be the case anyway, so I should be good. Okay, this is very fine vermiculite. And all I'm going to do is just cover the top. And once the seeds sprout, they'll be able to come right through this stuff with ease. But until they sprout, it'll help hold in the moisture and keep some of the light out. Vermiculite is kind of transparent. Not 100%, but okay, so that's going to wrap it up for today. I have these all nice and dampened, spritzed, and with their domes on. And as I said, they're going to remain out here away from the heat. And it's going to get outside about 31, 32 at night, pretty much every night for the next 10 days. But it's not going to freeze. I don't want it to freeze. If it's going to freeze, I'll probably bring these in the house, but in here, I doubt that it's going to freeze unless it gets down to, maybe 25 degrees. I don't think it's going to freeze in here. So I think these are good to go for the rest of the year until they sprout. So I want to keep them off the heat, and I'm going to do that for about a month. So a month from now, I will put these on the heat and start to sprout them. This is the cold stratification. They may start sprouting in the cold stratification as well. Sometimes they do that right in the fridge with cuttings like this. So these are the lilac cuttings. These have been in the fridge since I cut them. Oh, that was 2-3 weeks ago. And the other ones, the ones I put in the pots, have been sitting in the windowsill for the last week, but they were just in the dark in the shed in their pots the rest of the time. So I'll show you what I'm going to do with these on the next episode, and I'm going to try to get at least one set of flats filled at the same time. Which one I'm going to do, I'm not sure. I got the purple lovegrass and the little Bluestem left to go, and these hollyhocks, I really don't know. I probably should do a flat of them, but then I don't know what to do with that many hollyhocks if they all start growing. I mean, we have a lot of land, but, you know, where do you put them? I guess I could just put them along the road and here and there and everywhere. We'll see. So if you want to see that stuff, make sure you subscribe and stop back for the next episode. And if you have any questions or comments, make sure you put them in the comment section below. And finally, if you give us a thumbs up and or share the video, it helps us out greatly. Thanks for watching and have a great day.